Hello and welcome back to the Smash Archive, the series where we look at every game franchise represented in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A lot of credit for Smash Bros. Being as good as it is gets given to the series creator Masahiro Sakurai, so why don't we take a look at the two series in Smash that Sakurai has had major involvement with, those being Kirby and Kid Icarus. For this video, we'll basically be looking at every major Kirby title, along with a few spin-offs, up to Kirby Star Allies, as well as both the original Kid Icarus and Kid Icarus Uprising. And due to the game being fairly story-heavy, I'm going to give a quick spoiler warning for Kid Icarus Uprising. So if you don't want to get spoiled, use the timestamps in the description or the chapter selection to skip that part of the video. With that out of the way, let's get started with the Kirby series. Releasing for the Game Boy in 1992, Kirby's Dream Land was the first game directed by Masahiro Sakurai, back when he worked for the company HAL Laboratory, who outside of Kirby are mostly known for their work as the main developers for the first two Smash Bros. Games, along with assisting development on Brawl. The game was specifically designed to appeal to young children and beginners, being a very easy game to beat along with a simplistic art style and story, seeing Kirby head out to stop the self-appointed king of Dreamland, King Dedede, after he steals the entire food supply of Dreamland, with the game still offering enough depth for more experienced players to still have fun. Kirby's Dreamland did incredibly well, selling over 5 million copies, and for the longest time was the best-selling Kirby game, before finally being beaten 30 years later by 2022's Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Since this was such a strong start for the series, there's a lot of content from Kirby's Dream Land. To start, there's two fighters. Number 6, Kirby, the series' main protagonist who often ends up having to defend Dreamland against various threats, ranging from the malevolent Shadow Dark Matter to the mechanized Holtman Works Company. Though oftentimes the only reason Kirby's even helping is due to the events interrupting his sleep, food supply, or the enemy capturing Kirby's friends. And number 39, King Dedede, the main antagonist of Kirby's Dreamland, though in later entries Dedede slowly evolves into a rival and then one of Kirby's closest friends. Whilst Kirby's design has been mostly consistent, with the only major differences being the eyes and his overall roundness, Dedede has seen many different designs throughout the series, with his Smash design being mainly inspired by his looking Kirby superstar. Next is 3 stages. The first of these is Dreamland, which is loosely inspired by Green Greens, with the only prominent stage hazard being Wispy Woods, the game's first boss who's since shown up in multiple later entries, with either him or a variation of Wispy often acting as an early game boss. In Smash, he occasionally blows strong winds to push fighters and items, referencing one of his attacks where he shoots strong gusts of wind at Kirby. In addition, it's possible to see both King Dedede and Bronto Burts flying in the background, though Dedede won't show up if someone is playing as him on the stage. Second is Green Greens, which, like the previous stage, is based on the level of the same name, though its aesthetics more so resembles the first stage of Kirby 64. Wispy Woods once again appears on the stage, however in addition to blowing wind, he'll also perform his other main attack from the series, that being to shake his branches in an attempt to crush Kirby with falling apples, with them damaging fighters on the way down, with any apples left on the floor either being able to be used as a throwing weapon or eaten as a healing item. On top of that, between the main platforms are 2 gaps which star blocks fall down, these being destructible blocks that appear throughout the series, with bomb blocks occasionally showing up as well, these being special blocks that first appeared in Kirby's Adventure and when destroyed often set off a chain reaction to reveal secrets. In Smash they just explode like any other bomb item or attack in the game. The last stage is Dreamland GB, the name coming from how the fight takes place on the screen of a Game Boy playing Kirby's Dreamland. Dreamland. During the fight, the stage randomly transitions between 7 different layouts pulled from the game's 5 levels, namely featuring a flat area in green greens, both the inside and outside of Castle Lololo, a ship and some islands in Float Islands, various cloud platforms in Bubbly Clouds, and both the lobby and boxing ring from Mount Dedede. On top of this, the green greens, Float Islands, and Bubbly Cloud areas eventually have the screen scroll, with fighters being alerted to this when a hand based on the one from the game's Game Over screen appears. Then there's 6 music tracks, with 2 versions of Green Greens, the game's first level, with a Melee remix which also includes Kirby's triumphant return from Kirby Superstar, and a Smash 4 remix. A retro medley which contains the themes for the game's 5 levels, those being Green Greens, Castle Lololo, Float Islands, Bubbly Clouds, and Mount Dedede. Two versions of Mount Dedede's theme, which has gone on to become King Dedede's boss theme throughout the series, with a Brawl remix, and a Smash 4 remix which also contains the Life Lost jingle. And a new remix of the credits theme, which also incorporates Superstar's credits theme, along with the Sparkling Star, 1-Up, and Warp Star sound effects. that is 3 items. Maxim Tomato, a series recurring item that fully heals Kirby when eaten. In Smash, it heals 50% worth of damage. Super Spicy Curry, an item that only appears in Kirby's Dreamland, which allows Kirby to temporarily breathe fire, effectively being a kind of prototype for the fire copy ability in later entries. In Smash, eating the curry will similarly cause fighters to constantly shoot fireballs, which individually do 1% of damage. And Warp Star, a large flying star Kirby uses throughout the series as his main method of transportation. In Smash, after grabbing the star, the fighter will fly to the top of the screen before crashing back down into the stage, creating an explosion, with the player having slight control over where the star goes using the control stick. Finally, there's 12 spirits. Number 323, Kirby, a fighter spirit. The art comes from Superstar Ultra, the DS remake of Kirby Superstar. Number 325, King Dedede, a fighter spirit. The spirit art is from Return to Dreamland, where King Dedede is a playable character, effectively acting as a permanent version of Hammer Kirby. Number 326, Warp Star, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a super launch star. Like Kirby, the art comes from Superstar Ultra. Number 339, Wispy Woods, a 1-slot ace primary shield spirit with the effect Fire Weakness. The spirit artwork is from Superstar Ultra, where in addition to fighting him in the Spring Breeze and Revenge of Meta Knight modes, a dual version of Wispy called Twin Woods shows up in Revenge of Meta Knight and Milky Way Wishes, with Ultra adding a third version with Wispy's Revenge in the Revenge of the King mode. Number 340, Krako, a 3-slot advanced primary grab spirit with the effect Electric Attack Up. A sentient lightning cloud which acts as the game's 4th boss, being fought in bubbly clouds. The art is from Nightmare in Dreamland, the Game Boy Advance remake of Kirby's Adventure, where in both games he once again acts as the 4th boss, this time being fought in Grape Garden. Number 360, Waddle Dee, a 3-slot advanced primary neutral spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. The most common enemy in the Kirby series, effectively being Kirby's equivalent to Goombas, the art coming from Superstar Ultra. Number 362, Waddle Doo, a 1-slot novice primary attack spirit. These being enemies who behave similar to Waddle Dees but have the unique ability to shoot a laser beam from their eye. The art is from Superstar, where in addition to being an enemy, they also serve as the helper character for the beam ability. Number 363, Bronto Burt, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Floaty Jumps. A common flying enemy that appears throughout the series, with them showing up on every level in Kirby's Dreamland except Mount Dedede. The art is from Superstar Ultra. Number 364, Poppy Bros Jr., a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit. A common enemy who acts as a weaker version of the Poppy Bros Senior mid-boss. The artwork is from Superstar, which was the first game where Poppy Bros Jr. could throw bombs, with them also being the helper character for the bomb ability. Number 365, Gordo, a slotless advanced primary shield spirit. Spike ball enemies that are completely invincible and deal the most damage out of any enemy in the original game. The artwork is from Superstar Ultra. Number 366, Scarfy, a 1-slot novice primary shield spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. An enemy that appears in bubbly clouds, which are usually docile but will chase Kirby if he tries to inhale them. The art is from Superstar, where they also transform if hit with an attack that doesn't kill them in one hit. And number 367, Angry Scarfy, a 1-slot advanced primary shield spirit with the effect Unflinching Charged Smashes. This being a Scarfy after transforming to chase Kirby. The artwork is from Kirby Air Ride, where Scarfies appear on the courses Fantasy Meadows, Celestial Valley, and Frozen Hillside.
I'm
Originally starting life as an NES port of Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure ended up becoming a full-blown sequel, this time seeing Kirby trying to restore the Star Rod and return it to the Fountain of Dreams, so that the citizens of Dreamland can sleep, after Dedede broke the Star Rod in order to use the fountain as a swimming pool. In addition to expanding the game's scope, going from just 5 levels to 7 worlds, which all have 4 to 6 levels each, Adventure was also the game to introduce arguably Kirby's most iconic move, the Copy ability, whereby eating certain enemies, Kirby gains a transformation based off of said enemy's abilities, which range from being able to breathe fire or ice all the way up to full screen nukes. Adventure would later receive a Game Boy Advance remake titled Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which in addition to various gameplay improvements from later entries, also added the new Meta Nightmare mode, which has you play through the whole game as Meta Knight without the ability to save. Since this was the game that introduced the Copy ability, as well as the series' debut on home consoles, there's a good amount of content from Kirby's Adventure. First, we have fighter number 27, Meta Knight. Originally appearing as the boss of the 6th world, Orange Ocean, along with a few smaller appearances along the way, Meta Knight is a close ally of King Dedede, with him trying on multiple occasions to stop Kirby's quest to gather the pieces of the Star Rod. In later games, Meta Knight is made out to be more of an anti-hero, either allying with Kirby or having good intentions but going about them in a very extreme way. Then there's the stage Fountain of Dreams. The fountain powered by the Star Rod, which gives good dreams to the citizens of Dreamland, with it serving as the arena for the fight against King Dedede. Whilst its design was original for Smash, the stage would end up becoming the basis for future Fountain of Dreams designs, such as Nightmare in Dreamland and Superstar Ultra. The layout is effectively just Battlefield, but the 2 side platforms occasionally move up and down, with it even being possible for them to sink into the floor. Next is 4 music tracks, with a brawl medley of various boss themes across the series, namely the standard boss theme from Kirby's Adventure, Dreamland 2's boss theme, Superstar's boss theme, Kirby 64's mid-boss theme, Adventure's Arena and Egg Catcher theme, and the non-Squeak boss theme from Squeak Squad. A Smash 4 remix of Ice Cream Island, the game's 2nd level, track also containing the boss theme, the Sparkling Star theme, and the Kirby dance music. and 2 versions of Butter Building, the game's 3rd level, with a Brawl remix, which also contains the themes for Green Greens and the title screen music from Kirby's Dream Land. And a Smash 4 remix. Which also includes the themes for Vegetable Valley, the 1st level, and Ice Cream Island. Following that is 2 items. Bomber, an enemy that walks towards a ledge, falls down, and upon hitting the ground explodes, with it also giving Kirby the Crash ability. In Smash, it behaves similar to its source appearance, where it explodes after being left alone for long enough or from walking off a ledge, with fighters also being able to grab and set it off manually. And the Star Rod, the item which acts as the primary source of power for the Fountain of Dreams. In Smash, it acts as a battering weapon, but can shoot star projectiles when performing tilt or smash attacks, similar to how Kirby uses it during the final boss fight. In addition, there's the assist trophy Nightmare, a dark entity who tried to infest the Fountain of Dreams and serves as the game's final boss, with it being revealed that the real reason Dedede broke the Star Rod was to trap Nightmare in the fountain and prevent his bad dreams from spreading. In Smash, he just covers the screen in darkness for a short time, making it difficult to determine where players are. After that is a Mii hat based on Meta Knight's mask, which in the games often breaks upon defeat, revealing Meta Knight to be from the same or similar race to Kirby. To end off, there's 12 spirits. Number 324, Meta Knight, a fighter spirit. The art is from planet Robobot, where Meta Knight is captured by the Haltman Company and is forced to fight Kirby in a robot form dubbed Mecha Knight. Number 327, Star Rod, a 2-slot ace support spirit with the effect First Strike Advantage. The art is from Nightmare in Dreamland, which is the only other game it appears in outside of small cameos. Number 341, Nightmare's Power Orb, a 2-slot advanced primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. Nightmare's first form during the final boss fight. The art is taken from Nightmare in Dreamland. Number 342, Nightmare Wizard, a 2-slot legend primary grab spirit with the effect Jam FS Charge. Nightmare's true form, which he takes during the second phase of the fight, the spirit art also coming from Nightmare in Dreamland. Number 368, Rocky, a 2-slot novice support spirit with the effect Insta-Drop. an enemy that first appears in the 4th stage of Ice Cream Island, and is one of the most commonly associated with the Stone Copy ability. The Spirit Art comes from Superstar Ultra, where he's also the helper for the Stone ability. Number 369, Wheelie, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Dash Attack Up. An enemy that appears in every world except Vegetable Valley, Butter Building, and Orange Ocean, with it also being the enemy most frequently associated with the Wheel Copy ability. The art comes from Superstar Ultra, which featured Kirby riding a wheelie towards the end of the Revenge of Meta Knight sub-game. Number 370, Bomber, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a bomber. The art is from Superstar Ultra, where Crash is actually one of the few abilities you can't summon a helper for. Number 371, Bugsy, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Strong Throw, a mid-boss which appears on the 2nd stages of both Butter Building and Rainbow Resort, with him giving Kirby the Backdrop ability. The art comes from Superstar Ultra, where he instead grants and is the helper for the Suplex ability. Number 372, Bonkers, a 1-slot ace primary attack spirit, a mid-boss which appears in every world except Vegetable Valley, Ice Cream Island, and Grape Garden, with him giving Kirby the Hammer ability. The spirit art is from Superstar Ultra, where it also acts as the helper for the Hammer ability. Number 373, Mr. Frosty, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a Freezy. A mid-boss which appears in Vegetable Valley, Orange Ocean, and Rainbow Resort, with him giving Kirby the Freeze ability. The art is from Superstar Ultra, where he instead gives Kirby the Ice ability. Number 374, Meta Knights, a 3-slot ace primary neutral spirit with the effect Sword Attack Up. A group of knights who serve as Meta Knight's most elite soldiers, with them collectively serving as mid-bosses. The artwork is from Superstar Ultra, where they also appear as regular enemies in Revenge of Meta Knight and Milky Way Wishes. And number 375, Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, a 3-slot advanced primary neutral spirit with the effect Fire Attack Up. A Sun and Moon duo who serve as the boss for Butter Building. The art is taken from Nightmare in Dreamland. Returning to the Game Boy, we have Kirby's Dream Land 2, which was also the first game in the series that had no involvement from Sakurai. This game seeing the shadow entity Dark Matter attempt to take over Dreamland by destroying the 7 rainbow bridges that connect the Rainbow Islands, along with possessing King Dedede along with various other Dreamland residents, with Kirby setting out with a new group of animal buddies to save Dreamland, along the way collecting the Rainbow Shards in order to form the Rainbow Sword to take down Dark Matter. Whilst the game did do well review-wise, Dreamland 2 isn't as well remembered as other titles, mainly thanks to it being sandwiched between 2 of the series' most popular entries. Because of that, whilst there is a decent amount of content from the game, there's not much variety. The only things taken from Dreamland 2 being 5 spirits. Number 332, Rick, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Stats Up after eating. The ground-based animal buddy Kirby first meets in the 2nd level of Grasslands, with Rick being able to walk faster and not slip on ice at the cost of not being able to fly. The art is from Dreamland 3, where he's now slower but possesses the ability to wall jump. Number 333, Kine, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Toss and Meteor. The water-based animal buddy who can swim faster, allowing Kirby to bypass strong currents at the cost of poor movement on land. The spirit art comes from Dreamland 3, where he behaves the same as he did in Dreamland 2. Number 334, Coup, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Air Defense Up. The air-based animal buddy that can fly through the air at high speeds, at the cost of not being able to move on the ground and having a larger hurt box. The artwork comes from Dreamland 3, where he can fly even faster by mashing the B button. Number 335, Gooey, a 3-slot advanced primary neutral spirit. A creature from the same species as dark matter, though unlike most dark matter creatures, Gooey is actually a friendly creature, with him appearing in the protective bags guarded by mini-bosses if Kirby is already with the animal buddy that would have been captured. The art is taken from Dreamland 3, where Gooey serves as the player 2 character. And number 343, Dark Matter, a 3-slot legend primary attack spirit, the main antagonist and true final boss of Dreamland 2, which can only be fought if Kirby collected all of the rainbow drops, the spirit art specifically being the form it takes for the first phase of the fight, dubbed its blade form. Moving to the Super Nintendo, we have what is often viewed as the fan favourite entry, Kirby Superstar, or Kirby's Fun Pack in Europe. This was the third entry helmed by Sakurai, and unlike previous entries, Superstar is actually comprised of 9 smaller games, with 6 main games, 2 mini-games, and an unlockable boss rush mode, with this also being the first entry to have multiplayer, allowing a second player to control helper versions of common enemies, effectively acting as a permanent version of one of Kirby's copy abilities. The game would also receive a DS remake with Superstar Ultra, which in addition to some gameplay changes and FMV cutscenes, added an additional 7 games, effectively making it the definitive way to play Superstar. Since this is one of the most popular entries, and when ignoring Nightmare in Dreamland due to that game being a remake, was the last main entry to be directed by Sakurai, there's a lot from Superstar. To begin, we have 2 stages. The first of these is Hellbird, Meta Knight's airship, which acts as the central location of the Revenge of Meta Knight, where Kirby tries to take down the ship when Meta Knight threatens an invasion due to him believing Dreamland's inhabitants are too lazy. The fight begins in a hangar which the Hellbird quickly leaves, with fighters pursuing the ship on a floating platform, eventually landing on the ship's hull, at which point fighters are attacked by the ship's combo cannon, which can attack fighters with cannonballs, a laser cannon, and a mechanical claw, these all being attacks the cannon uses in the boss fight against it. From there, the stage then loops between the platform flying around the Halberd and landing on the hull to get attacked by the combo cannon. The other is the Great Cave Offensive, which is both based on and named after the game mode of the same name, where Kirby has to explore a vast cave whilst finding as much treasure as possible, this being reflected thanks to the Great Cave Offensive being the largest stage in the series. The stage is divided into 4 areas, based on the 4 sub-areas from the game. The sub-tree area, which makes up most of the top part of the stage, the crystal area on the right side of the stage, the old tower, which appears in the lower middle section and in the background, and the garden area in the bottom left. Due to a majority of the blast zones being covered up by walls, fighters can also be KO'd by hitting pools of lava, called danger zones, at 100% damage or higher, these being based on similar lava pools that appear in the old tower area. In addition to these, as well as some spikes appearing on certain walls, the stage also features 2 rotating cannons from the Kirby series that fighters can shoot themselves out of, minecarts which occasionally pop up and players can ride in, which in the original game is how Kirby traveled between the 4 sub-areas, and if items are turned on, treasure chests can appear which can either contain items or explode, these being the things Kirby had to find hidden throughout the game in order to get all 60 treasures. Next is 6 music tracks, with 3 versions of the main theme for the Gourmet Race subgame, with a Smash 64 remix, a Melee remix, and a Brawl remix. remix of two of the themes from the Great Cave Offensive, namely Crystal Area and Sub-Tree Area. Remix of two tracks from Meta Knight's Revenge, Boarding the Halberd, and Havoc Aboard the Halberd. And a Brawl remix of Marx's theme, the final boss of Milky Way Wishes. The track also containing Kirby's triumphant return. Then we have two assist trophies. Chef Kawasaki, a mid-boss, fought multiple times throughout the game, with him also being one of the two enemies in the entire series to give Kirby the cook ability. When summoned, Chef Kawasaki can attack enemies from a distance by throwing plates at them, with his main method of attack being to grab enemies with a long ladle and then deal continuous damage by cooking them in a boiling pot, afterwards then launching them whilst creating various food items, with him also dropping a random food item before leaving. And Knuckle Joe, a regular enemy who's the one most associated with the fighter ability, with him also being the helper character for said ability. In Smash, he first attacks fighters using Vulcan Jab, a fast flurry of punches, before ending with either one strong forward punch called the Smash Punch, or an uppercut called the Rising Break, these all being moves Kirby can perform with the fighter ability. After that is a Mii hat based on the hat worn by Marx, who as mentioned earlier is the final boss of Milky Way Wishes, with him tricking Kirby into awakening the wish-granting comet, Galactic Nova, so that Marx could wish for the power to take over planet Popstar. In addition, Marx also shows up as a boss, appearing in the Mysterious Dimension subworld in World of Light, as well as Kirby, Rosalina, Inkling, and Sephiroth's classic mode routes. Marx fights using most of his moveset from Kirby Superstar, namely being able to shoot 4 cutter boomerangs, shooting a laser across the entire stage, creating large ice balls that can freeze the player, planting large thorny vines that try to stab fighters, creating a shadow on the floor which he then flies out of, and splitting himself in half and creating a black hole. On top of that, he has 3 new attacks for Smash, releasing a series of black balls from his eyes that do darkness damage, revealing blood vessel-like appendages wishes that cover the screen and deal fire damage, as well as shooting multiple spinning lasers from his eyes. Finally, there's 12 spirits. Number 330, Halberd, a 2-slot legend support spirit with the effect Armor Knight. The artwork is original to Smash Ultimate. Number 345, Dynablade, a 2-slot legend primary shield spirit with the effect Jump Up. A large bird Kirby fights in the Dynablade game due to her stealing Dreamland's crops. Though, when it's revealed the only reason she did this was to feed her chicks, Kirby shows her a better food source with Wispy Wood's apples, with Dynablade then returning the favour in Revenge of Meta Knight by flying Kirby to the ship's hull after he's knocked off the Warp Star. Number 346, Heavy Lobster, a 1-slot advanced primary shield spirit, a security guard for the Halberd that appears as a boss in Revenge of Meta Knight and Milky Way Wishes. The art is from Superstar Ultra, which gave him a unique boss theme. Number 347, Marks, a 3-slot advanced primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. This being his original form when he first meets Kirby at the start of Milky Way Wishes. Number 348, Mark's True Form, a 3-slot legend primary grab spirit with the effect Magic Attack Up. The form Marks takes for his boss fight after wishing for power from Supernova. Number 353, Masked Dedede, a 2-slot Ace primary attack spirit. An alter ego for Dedede introduced in Superstar Ultra's Revenge of the King, being equipped with a power increasing mask along with a mechanized hammer that has rocket launchers, flamethrowers, and jet boosters. Number 354, Galactonite, a slotless legend primary shield spirit with the effect Sword Attack Up. The final boss of Meta Nightmare Ultra, the most powerful warrior in the galaxy who had to be sealed away due to how much of a threat he was based on his power alone, with Meta Knight fighting him in an attempt to improve his own strength. Number 361, Bandana Waddle Dee, a 3-slot Ace primary neutral spirit with the effect Bannering Items Up. One of Kirby's friends who originally only appeared as a minor character, being the first opponent in the Megaton Punch game. His art is from Return to Dreamland, which was arguably his first major appearance, being a playable character who acts as a permanent version of Spear Kirby, with him having gone on to appear in most entries afterwards as either a support or multiplayer character. Number 376, Plasma Wisp, a 2-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a hothead, an enemy who gives Kirby the Plasma ability, which after Superstar would only show up properly in one more game with Kirby Air Ride, the Plasma ability having been replaced by Spark in every other game since, with the exception of Kirby Star Allies. The art is from Superstar Ultra. Number 377, Tack, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Iron Gravitation. An enemy who, outside of small cameos and random events in Air Ride's City Trial mode, only appeared in Superstar, where he tries to steal either helper characters or Kirby's copy ability, with him being the only enemy that gives Kirby the copy ability. The art is from Superstar Ultra. Number 378, Chef Kawasaki, a 2-slot Ace support spirit with the effect Stats Double Up after eating. The art comes from Superstar Ultra, where he's more or less the same as he was in the original game. And number 379, Knuckle Joe, a 1-slot Ace primary attack spirit with the effect Fist Attack Up. Like most of the enemies, his art is also from Superstar Ultra. Now we have our first spin-off with Kirby Star Stacker for the Game Boy, a block-based puzzle game which has you needing to clear lines by placing matching blocks of Kirby's animal buddies from Dreamland 2 and sandwiching them between star blocks. In addition to the original Game Boy release, there was also a Japan-only Super Nintendo version which released a year later, with the main addition being a story mode where you take on several opponents that get progressively tougher. Since this is just a fairly simple puzzle game, there's not much from Star Stacker, with the only thing taken being spirit number 344, Grill, a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit. A secret boss added in the Super Nintendo port, which you can only fight if you manage to beat the entire story mode without losing once. Since then, Grill has only had small cameos, with the first of these being done 18 years after their first appearance via a sticker in Planet Robobot. Sticking with the Super Nintendo, we have Kirby's Dream Land 3, which actually released so late in the system's lifespan that the game didn't see an official European release until it was put on the Wii's Virtual Console. The game sees the return of Dark Matter from Dream Land 2, with Kirby heading out to find the 30 Love Hearts in order to form the Love Stick and take out Dark Matter for good, alongside its master, Zero. In addition to bringing back the animal buddies from Dream Land 2, along with introducing 3 new ones, the game also brought back Gooey as the second player character, who is now able to mimic Kirby's copy abilities. Due to the game having a mixed reception, and it often being overlooked due to how much more popular Superstar was, there's not much from Dreamland 3. Similar to Dreamland 2, the only thing taken from this game are 3 spirits. Number 336, Nago, a 2-slot novice primary grab spirit, a large cat which rolls Kirby like a ball and possesses the ability to defeat enemies by jumping on them, as well as being able to perform double jumps. Number 337, Pitch, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a Unaira. A bird which, in addition to letting Kirby fly, is also the only animal buddy which can travel with Kirby through gaps the size of 1 star block. And number 338, Choo Choo, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a super leaf, a pink octopus that can use her tentacles to grab enemies and stick to ceilings, with her also being able to perform weak mid-air jumps to glide. Moving to the Nintendo 64, we have Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, which, unlike most series at the time, which used the advancements in technology to go fully 3D, Kirby 64 instead stuck to being a 2D platformer, but uses 3D characters and environments in order to create the illusion of exploring a fully 3D space. This entry sees Kirby helping Ribbon, a fairy-like creature from the planet Ripple Star, reform a powerful crystal by collecting the various shards it was broken into after a planet was attacked by dark matter, along the way receiving help from a Waddle Dee, King Dedede, and the painter Adeline. In addition to technically being the first 3D Kirby game, this entry ditches the animal buddies from the Dreamland sequels for combo copy abilities, whereby combining 2 copy abilities, Kirby can gain a completely new power based on the abilities which were combined. Despite these factors making it a very unique entry in the series, there's surprisingly little from Kirby 64. The only content from this game is 2 music tracks. Planet Popstar, the theme used for the first and third stages of the first world, Popstar, as well as the first stages of the fourth world, Neo Star, and the sixth world, Ripple Star. And a Brawl remix of the theme used for the final boss fight against Zero 2. Now we have the fifth and final game in the Kirby series, which was directed by Sakurai, Kirby Air Ride, a Kirby racing game for the GameCube. Following the simple design of the Kirby series, races in Air Ride are played using just the control stick and the A button, which can be tapped to inhale enemies for copy abilities, replacing the usual racing game item system, or holding the button to brake and then immediately launch forward when releasing the button. In addition to arguably being the most popular Kirby spin-off, a lot of ideas from Air Ride would end up appearing in Smash Bros, ranging from the challenge panels, which list missions, which when completed then break to reveal neighbouring missions, all the way to the game's city trial mode, which has to explore a large space to gather stat boosts to then compete in a randomised challenge against every other player, being directly copied for Smash for 3DS's Smash Run mode. Because of that, there's a decent amount of content from Air Ride. First, we have 5 music tracks, with Forest Stage, an alternate track for Celestial Valley, with the song being a remix of the Forest Stage theme from Kirby's Adventure. The regular theme for Celestial Valley, the game's second course. The theme for Frozen Hillside, the game's fourth course. A new remix of the main theme for the City Trial submode. And a Brawl remix of the legendary Air Ride machine, the theme that plays while riding the Dragoon or Hydra. With it also containing brief snippets of Green Greens and Gourmet Race. Next is the item Dragoon, a vehicle exclusive to the City Trial mode, which requires a player to find all 3 pieces of the vehicle hidden around the map in order to even ride it, with it easily being one of the best vehicles in the game. In Smash, a fighter similarly needs to gather all 3 pieces of the Dragoon, at which point they then fly off screen and then fly through the stage using an aiming reticle, with any fighter hit being almost guaranteed to be KO'd. In addition, there's Spirit number 331, Dragoon, a 1-slot legend support spirit with the effect Giant Killer. Outside of Air Ride, the only other appearances the Dragoon has had in the Kirby series was a small cameo in Star Allies and a character treat in Kirby's Dream Buffet. Going to the Game Boy Advance, we have Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which is our first title that wasn't solely developed by HAL. This entry being made in collaboration with Flagship, a studio who helped on games including various Resident Evil titles and the first two Onimusha games before being absorbed by Capcom in 2007, as well as Dimps, a studio made up of ex-Capcom and SNK employees who are mostly known for their work on handheld Sonic titles as well as Street Fighter 4 and 5. This entry sees Kirby pulled into a mirror world, which Meta Knight had previously entered after the mirrors that led to it started giving off sinister reflections. Upon entry, Kirby encounters the mirror world's counterpart to Meta Knight, dubbed Dark Meta Knight, who splits Kirby into 4 separate Kirbys and then defeats Meta Knight by throwing him into a mirror and then shattering said mirror into 8 pieces, with it being up to the 4 Kirbys to explore the mirror world in order to find the pieces and save Meta Knight. In addition to having less linear design compared to previous entries, the game also allows for 4-player co-op thanks to the 4 Kirbys, with them otherwise being controlled by AI which Kirby can summon to him using a cell phone. Since this is one of the weirder Kirby titles, there isn't much from this entry. First, we have a Smash 4 remix of the forest/nature area theme, which opens with an 8-bit rendition of the intro to City Trial from Kirby Air Ride. The track also containing the flame/lava area theme. On top of that, there's 2 spirits. Number 349, Moly, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a drill. The boss of the 3rd cardinal area, Cabbage Cavern. The artwork is from Kirby Mass Attack, where he's a mid-boss fought in the 6th stage of the first world, Green Grounds. And number 350, Dark Mind, a 2-slot ace support spirit which lets you start the battle with a Franklin badge. The final boss and main antagonist of Amazing Mirror, who is effectively the mirror world's equivalent to Dark Matter. The spirit art is specifically his first form, which is reminiscent of Nightmare's wizard form. Moving up to the DS, we have Kirby Squeak Squad, or Kirby Mouse Attack in Europe, which in addition to bringing back Flagship from Amazing Mirror, with this being the last title the company would work on before being absorbed into Capcom, the game also received assistance from the Japanese branch of Natsume, and whilst the biggest thing they seem to have done are some Super Nintendo Power Rangers games and the DS versions of some Nicktoons crossover titles, you'll probably recognize the American branch of Natsume as the original US publisher for the Story of Seasons or Harvest Moon series. This entry sees Kirby chasing down a group of thieves called the Squeak Squad after they stole a piece of strawberry shortcake Kirby was eating, with the main addition being the Copy Palette, which allows Kirby to store up to 5 items and copy essences at all times via bubbles visible on the bottom screen, some of which can be combined together for better items. Whilst the game did perform well sales-wise, it received a mostly average reception, which is likely why there isn't much from this entry. To start, we have a Brawl remix of the Squeak Squad theme, which plays whenever Kirby encounters a member of the Squeaks. first two spirits. Number 351, Deluxe, a 3-slot ace primary attack spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. The leader of the Squeaks and in turn the main antagonist of Squeak Squad. Whilst Kirby encounters him a few times beforehand, he doesn't actually fight Deluxe until the end of the 6th world, Ice Island. And number 352, Dark Deluxe, a 3-slot legend primary attack spirit with the effect fire and explosion attack up. This being Deluxe's appearance after he gets possessed by Dark Nebula, an ancient evil reminiscent of dark matter who is revealed to have been in the treasure chest Deluxe was holding, with Dark Deluxe acting as the game's penultimate boss. Moving over to the Wii, we have Kirby's Epic Yarn, which was a title made in collaboration with Goodfeel, who outside of this game are mostly known for Wario Land Shake It, as well as both Yoshi's Woolly World and Crafted World. This time we see Kirby get pulled into a world made entirely out of yarn and other crafting materials called Patchland, with him needing to repair the world after it was broken apart by the wizard Yin Yarn, needing to get out before he also takes over Dreamland. Due to Kirby being a yarn outline in this world, he can't inhale enemies or use his copy abilities. However, he is able to transform his body into several shapes, ranging from a small car to a giant missile-firing mech. Despite some complaints of the game being too easy, even by Kirby standards, it was received with an overwhelmingly positive reception. So much so it even received a 3DS port almost a decade later, dubbed Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, which is actually one of the last Nintendo-published 3DS games to have received a physical release. This version seeing some extra modes, as well as equipable hats, which act similar to the series' copy abilities. Despite how light this entry is, there's not much from Epic Yarn, which is likely due to how different it is from the usual Kirby affair. The only thing from this game is spirit number 380, Prince Fluff, a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit with the effect Weight Down, the Prince of Patchland who Kirby helps find the magic yarn to put Patchland back together, with Prince Fluff acting as the game's Player 2 character. Continuing with the Wii, we have the first mainline Kirby entry on consoles in a decade with Kirby's Return to Dreamland, or Kirby's Adventure Wii in Europe. This entry sees Kirby, along with Meta Knight, King Dedede, and Bandana Waddle Dee, working together to travel across planet Popstar and find various ship pieces and energy spheres to help Magalore, an alien magician from an alternate dimension, repair his ship, the Law Starcutter, after he crash lands in Dreamland. In addition to reverting back to the gameplay of Kirby's Adventure in Superstar, along with bringing back the 4-player multiplayer from Amazing Mirror, Return to Dreamland also introduced super abilities, these being incredibly powerful versions of certain copy abilities which can destroy large obstacles and defeat huge groups of enemies with one attack. Return to Dreamland is easily one of the most popular modern entries in the series, so much so it received a Switch remake with Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which in addition to a visual update also added new copy abilities, a revamp to the minigame selection, and a new mode where you play as Magalore. Because of that, there's a good amount of content from Return to Dreamland. To begin, we have 6 music tracks. The Adventure Begins, which is mainly used during the first 3 stages of Cookie Country, the game's first world. Through the Forest, which is primarily used in the second stage of Cookie Country. Sky Tower, which plays during the second and 4th stages of Nutty Noon, the 5th world. screen for Dangerous Dinner, the game's 7th world, and 2 versions of Crowned, which plays during the 2nd phase of the final boss fight, with both the original song and a remix from the spin-off game Dedede's Drum Dash Deluxe. Along with that, there's 3 spirits. Number 328, Ultra Sword, a 2-slot ace support spirit with the effect Chance of Double Final Smash. The first and most common super ability in the game, which allows Kirby to swing a giant sword that destroys everything in its path. Number 355, Magalore, a 3-slot ace primary attack spirit, the captain of the Lore Star Cutter who initially gets Kirby to help him repair the ship in order to get back to his home dimension. However, at the end of the game, it's revealed he was manipulating Kirby and his friends the whole time in order to obtain power via the Master Crown, transforming him into the game's final boss. And number 356, Landia, a 3-slot advanced primary attack spirit with the effect Jump Up. 4 dragons that serve as the protectors of both the Master Crown and Lore Star Cutter, this being the reason why they attacked Magalore, which he then uses to trick Kirby's group into fighting Landia at the end of Dangerous Dinner. Now we have the series debut on the 3DS with Kirby Triple Deluxe, this time seeing Kirby travel to the skybound kingdom of Floralia after a large plant called the Dreamstalk lifts his house into the sky, along with the spider-like wizard Taranza kidnapping King Dedede, whose castle was also lifted by the Dreamstalk. To take advantage of the 3D technology, Triple Deluxe is a 2.5D platformer, which has Kirby occasionally jump between the foreground and background, along with obstacles which fly in from the background to attack Kirby. In addition, the game featured 2 side modes which were later expanded into full digital releases, those being Kirby Fighters, a fighting game in which the roster is the various copy abilities, as well as a rhythm game starring Dedede called Dedede's Drum Dash. Since this is a fairly popular entry in the Kirby series, there's a decent amount of content from Triple Deluxe. First, we have 3 music tracks, with Floral Fields, the theme for the first 2 stages of Fine Fields, the first world, along with the first stage of Old Odyssey, the third world, and the third stage of Royal Road, the 6th world. Fatal blooms in Moonlight, which plays during the 2nd phase of the final boss fight against Queen Sectonia, as well as the 1st phase of the Soul of Sectonia fight in True Arena mode. To Win, which plays during the final phase of the final boss fight. In addition, there's spirit number 357, Queen Sectonia, a 2-slot ace primary grab spirit. The game's final boss and main antagonist, being the self-imposed ruler of Floralia who became a self-obsessed, power-hungry tyrant after staring into the dimension mirror for too long, this being the same mirror that hosted the final level and boss fights of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Moving on, we have the only new Kirby title for the Wii U with Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which is actually a spiritual successor to the DS title Kirby Canvas Curse, or Kirby Power Paintbrush in Europe. In both games, instead of directly controlling Kirby, you instead draw paths for him to roll along in a ball form, whilst making sure to avoid hazards. Rainbow Curse features a unique art style for the series, using clay models, with the game's story seeing a magical sculptor called Claycia steal all the colour from Planet Popstar, which in turn freezes the world. Kirby and Bandana Waddle Dee are then recolored by Claycia's former friend Aline, with the three heading off to stop Claycia and return Popstar's colour. Since this is a Wii U exclusive spin-off title, there isn't much from Rainbow Curse. The only thing taken is spirit number 381, Aline, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a fairy bottle. A paintbrush fairy who acts as Kirby's main companion throughout the game, with her being the one who creates the rainbow ropes that Kirby uses to get around, as well as being the person behind Kirby's transformations. Returning to the 3DS, we have the other main title for the system with Kirby Planet Robobot. This entry seeing Kirby needing to save Popstar from the Holtman Works Company, a company that forcefully mechanizes other planets in order to steal their resources, using a giant spaceship called the Access Arc. In addition to the more futuristic and robotic setting compared to other Kirby titles, the main gimmick of the game was the Robobot armors, mech suits Kirby can pilot which are even compatible with Kirby's copy abilities. Similar to Triple Deluxe, there's also a couple of side games that were later given separate expanded digital titles. Team Kirby Clash, which sees a group of 4 Kirbys needing to work together to take down a boss, with the game incorporating a few RPG mechanics, as well as Kirby 3D Rumble, which has you play through a few short levels, this mode being notable as technically being the first fully 3D Kirby game. Since this is also a fairly popular entry like Triple Deluxe, there's also a decent amount of content from this game as well. To start, there's 2 music tracks. Venturing into the Mechanized World, which plays during the first, second, and fourth stages of Patched Plains, the game's first world. Pink Ball Activate, the theme for when Kirby first uses the Robobot armor in Stage 2 of Patched Plains, as well as the boss fight against Gigavolt when using Wheel mode in the second stage of Overload Ocean, the third world. Then there's 2 spirits. Number 329, Roboboss Armor, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Weapon Attack Up. The mechs Kirby can use throughout the game, with the artwork specifically being the normal version of the mech, which can only do basic punch and slam attacks as well as carry large blocks. And number 358, Susie, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a beam sword. The executive assistant and presidential secretary of the Holtman Works Company. She's first encountered as the boss of the third world, Overload Ocean, with her showing up a few times later to give more background on both herself and her boss, President Holtman. Kirby Battle Royale is a multiplayer-focused Kirby spin-off, this being the last new Kirby title for the 3DS. The story mode seeing Kirby and Bandana Waddle Dee entering a large battle arena built by King Dedede, with the promise that the winner will be rewarded with a large cake, with the two having to battle against clones of Kirby created by Dedede using a special Kirby printer, with the game having 10 different minigames, 8 of which can be played solo and all of them as 2v2. Since this is a fairly obscure Kirby spin-off, due to it being a 3DS exclusive released 8 months after the Switch was already out, there's not much from Kirby Battle Royale. The only thing from this game is a music track with the game's main theme, which outside of a shortened version in the game's intro, doesn't actually appear in the game outside of the sound test, though it does appear in the game's demo as part of a short video once you use up all the demo tickets. We have the series debut on the Nintendo Switch with Kirby Star Allies, with this entry also doubling as a celebratory title as part of the series' 25th anniversary. This time, Dreamland ends up becoming the impact site of multiple dark hearts, which can corrupt those it comes into contact with, it later turning out that these hearts came about as a result of a mad priest trying to summon a god of destruction called Void Termina, with Kirby and his allies working together to stop him. As opposed to most entries which feature some kind of major gimmick to stand out from the other titles, Star Allies instead plays into fan service by bringing back the helper mechanic from Superstar, allowing Kirby to recruit any enemy as an ally which can be controlled by either a computer or human, with the game even featuring several major characters from across the series as special Dream Friends. Star Allies received a mixed reception, however it sold incredibly well, with it currently standing as the third best-selling entry in the series, behind only the original Kirby's Dream Land and Star Allies' follow-up, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. There isn't much from Star Allies, though this is likely due to the game releasing just 9 months before Ultimate came out. First is the music track A Battle of Friends and Bonds 2, which plays through a majority of Heavenly Hall, the final level of Fortress of Shadows Jam Bastion, the game's third world, as well as the fights against Yiggy Woods, Goldon and Silvox, Kracko, Twin Kracko, and Parallel Twin Kracko. In addition, there's spirit number 359, the Three Mage Sisters, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect battering items up. A trio of antagonists who serve the main villain, Highness, due to him having saved all 3 of them from near-death experiences, with each one having magic powers based on what they were saved from. Francisca having ice powers after being saved from a snowstorm, Flameberg has fire powers after almost dying from an inferno, and Zan Partisan possesses electric magic after she almost died from being struck by lightning. And with that, we've looked at everything in Ultimate from the Kirby franchise. In terms of overall rankings, Kirby is the 6th most represented series in the game, ranking above Mega Man but below Fire Emblem, with it and Zelda also being the only 2 series to have something for the 8 main categories of representation. Now let's take to the skies with Kid Icarus. Releasing in 1986, Kid Icarus was an action platformer for the NES that took heavy inspiration from Greek and Roman mythology. The game seeing the Angel Pit having to save both Angel Land and its ruler Palutena after they're invaded by a demon army led by Medusa. The game was made in the same engine used for the original Metroid, and originally was supposed to be more serious, though after some pushback was made to be more comedic. Despite releasing during the NES's early years, Kid Icarus never really took off like other big Nintendo games released around the same time, like Legend of Zelda or Metroid, meaning that despite having a cult following, for the longest time, the only attention the series got was its main protagonist Pit making small cameos in other Nintendo games, along with a Game Boy sequel 5 years later, which didn't even release in Japan until a 3DS Virtual Console port came out in 2012. Despite this, there is still a good amount of content from the original Kid Icarus, as it still set the foundation for the series' much more popular third entry. To begin, we have two fighters. Number 28, Pit, the series' main protagonist who serves as a captain for Palutena's army. His design and moveset in Smash is based on his appearance in Kid Icarus Uprising, which in turn was based on his redesign when he was added as a playable character in Brawl, which was his first major appearance in 17 years. And number 54, Palutena, the goddess of light and ruler of Skyworld, who effectively takes the damsel in distress role in the original game. Like Pit, her appearance in Smash is based on her design in Uprising, where she takes a more supportive role giving Pit guidance throughout the game, with her look in Uprising also being based on her Brawl design. Next is two stages. The first of these is Skyworld, which was the third level of the original game. Though outside of the general architecture of the stage, as well as a temple with a large statue, seemingly based on Palutena's original design in the background, which could be based on the final level, the Palace in the Sky, this is pretty much just a Smash original stage loosely based on Skyworld. The main gimmick for the stage is that the stone flooring covering the cloud platforms can be broken, which in turn then allows fighters to go through them, which could come from how Skyworld is primarily made up of stone and cloud platforms. The other stage is Palutena's Temple, the final level of the original game, which was originally called the Palace in the Sky, though the stage is based on its appearance in Kid Icarus Uprising. Like the previously discussed Skyworld, outside of the Palutena statue in the background, this stage is effectively a Smash original that just takes design cues from the Kid Icarus games, with the left side being the more ruins or temple-like area, whilst the right side is a floating mountainside area. Finally, if a player chooses Pit and then presses the down taunt button for one frame, Pit can enter a dialogue exchange about one of the characters he's fighting, with the conversations being written and using similar presentation to the talks Pit has with other characters during Uprising, with Pit usually getting advice from either Palutena, Dedede, or both, with Dark Pit also showing up for Ice Climbers, Wolf, and his own conversation, along with Richter's featuring a cameo from Castlevania's Alucard. Then we have 4 music tracks, with a Brawl remix of the title screen music, retro medley which includes the title theme, the Underworld theme, the Dungeon theme, the Stage Clear jingle, the Overworld theme, the Skyworld theme, The Palace in the Sky theme, and the Game Over jingle. A Brawl remix of the Underworld theme, which also contains the Reaper theme and Game Over jingle. And a Brawl remix of the Overworld theme. Finally, there's 13 spirits. Number 703, Pit, a fighter spirit. To match with his Smash design, the art is from Kid Icarus Uprising. Number 705, Palutena, a fighter spirit. Similar to Pit, the artwork is also from Uprising. Number 706, Pit Original, a 3-slot Ace primary grab spirit with the effect Jump Down, this being Pit's design in the original Kid Icarus. Number 707, Centurion, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a staff. The rank and file of Palutena's army who are turned into stone, with Pit being able to free them using a mallet, with them in return helping Pit defeat that world's boss. The art is taken from Uprising, where in addition to appearing as allies via the Centurion assist items, they also show up in the main story during chapters 17, 18, 20, and 24. Number 708, 3 Sacred Treasures, a 3-slot Ace primary neutral spirit with the effect Shooting Items Power Up. These being 3 items Pit has to collect in order to defeat Medusa, namely the Arrow of Light, the Mirror Shield, and the Wings of Pegasus. The art is from Kid Icarus Uprising, where they serve a similar purpose. However, they're initially stolen by space pirates, who act as a third party fighting both the Over and Underworlds. Number 710, Medusa, a 2-slot advanced primary attack spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. The game's main antagonist and final boss, having originally been a co-ruler of Angel Land alongside Palutena, before being turned into a monster and banished to the Demon World due to Medusa's hatred of humanity. Her invasion and imprisonment of Palutena being her revenge for this. Number 712, Twin Bellows, a 2-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Mouthful of Curry. A large 2-headed dog with fire powers which acts as the game's first boss, for at the end of the Underworld. The art is from Kid Icarus Uprising, where it reprises the role of being the first boss, being fought in Chapter 1. Number 713, Huge Roar, a 3-slot advanced primary shield spirit with the effect Jump Up. A large serpent-like monster that acts as the second boss for at the end of the Overworld. The artwork is from Uprising, where it acts as the boss fought throughout Chapter 3, with this iteration starting with 3 heads that have different personalities. Number 714, Pandora, a 2-slot advanced primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. The goddess of Calamity who acts as the third boss for at the end of Skyworld. The artwork is from Uprising, where Pit is sent to invade her secret lair in Chapter 5 in order to destroy the Mirror of Fate to slow down the creation of Medusa's army. Number 716, Thanatos, a 2-slot advanced primary shield spirit. Originally appearing as the snake-like enemies that Medusa shoots at Pit during the final boss fight, the artwork comes from Kid Icarus Uprising, which reveal that Thanatos possesses the ability to shapeshift and is the god of death, with Pit fighting him in Chapter 7 in order to get a key to the Underworld to fight Medusa. Medusa. Number 719, Spec Nose, a 2-slot novice primary neutral spirit. Enemies that look like a floating nose and a pair of glasses that only appear in the enemy lairs, rooms throughout the game where Pit has to fight off swarms of enemies. Number 720, Reaper and Repet, a 1-slot ace support spirit with the effect Side Special Up. Enemies inspired by the Grim Reaper that appear in every non-fortress level, with the Reaper summoning swarms of Repets when it sees Pit. The art comes from Kid Icarus Uprising, where they behave similarly, with the enemies first appearing in Chapter 4. And number 721, Eggplant Wizard, a 2-slot ace support spirit with the effect KO's heal damage. Enemies that only appear in the fortress levels would shoot projectiles at Pit to try and turn him into a walking eggplant, making him unable to attack, with the only way to be cured being to find the fortress's hospital. Like a lot of the previous spirits, its art is from Kid Icarus Uprising, where its behavior is the same, however Pit is now cured after a set amount of time passes, with them also being introduced in Chapter 4 along with the Reapers. After the release of Brawl, Masahiro Sakurai was asked to make a new game which could act as a launch title for the 3DS, with him ultimately deciding on making a third-person shooter, with him also later getting permission to make the game based on a pre-existing Nintendo franchise after receiving feedback that a lot of the characters on Brawl's roster hadn't seen a new game in a while, with him ultimately deciding on Kid Icarus due to its long absence yet continued popularity in the West. The final result was Kid Icarus Uprising, which acted as a sort of soft reboot of the series, as it canonically takes place after the first 2 entries, but re-establishes a lot of characters and concepts from those games, with there also being the previously mentioned shift in genre from 2D platformer to third-person shooter, with each chapter that makes up the game's story often being split up between an auto-moving aerial section, then shifting to a ground-based section, and then ends off with a boss fight. The game did really well, gaining very positive reviews, with the only complaint the game got being its slightly awkward control scheme, and after just a year managed to become the 3DS's 10th best-selling game at 1.18 million copies sold, with it currently standing as the 44th best-selling game. Because of that, there's a lot of content from Kid Icarus Uprising. First, we have fighter number 28 Echo, Dark Pit, a doppelganger of Pit created after he destroys the Mirror of Truth. However, despite being planned to be a servant for Pandora, due to the creation process not being finished prior to the mirror being destroyed, he doesn't have any allegiance to Pandora, leading him to become an anti-hero who occasionally helps out Pit, as Pit dying would also result in Dark Pit dying. Then there's the stage Reset Bomb Forest, which is based on the events of Chapter 11. The stage starts on the top of a destroyed castle with a war between human factions going on in the background, which in the game was caused by Hades, who, because he wanted more human souls, tricked the nations into a war by telling them of an item called the Wish Seed, claiming it can grant wishes when it actually doesn't do anything. Eventually, a large image of Dedede, the goddess of nature who acts as a third party, appears in the background and drops a reset bomb on the humans, wiping them out and creating a large expansive forest where the battle was taking place, due to Dedede's hatred of humans as their conflicts disturb the balance of nature. After the bomb goes off, the stage layout changes, with the castle having been ripped apart by various branches of the forest, with a Lurch Thorn, an enemy which first appears in Chapter 11, flying by. After enough time passes, the stage goes back to the first layout before looping. Following that is 9 music tracks. Boss Fight 1, one of the game's general boss themes. Magnus's theme, which plays when you first meet Magnus in Chapter 2 and when you briefly play as him in Chapter 18. Dark Pit's theme, which plays almost whenever he's on screen. Smash 4 remix of In the Space Pirate Ship, which plays during Chapter 8. Infernal theme. Hades' theme, which first plays when he's revealed to be the true lord of the underworld after being Chapter 9. Smash 4 remix of Wrath of the Reset Bomb, which plays during Chapter 12 and serves as Veridi's theme. Thundercloud Temple, the ground battle theme for Chapter 14. Smash 4 remix of Lightning Chariot Bass, which plays during Chapter 19. A Smash 4 remix of Destroyed Skyworld, which is played during Chapter 20. Next are 6 items. Bat Shield, an item which protects Pit from attacks from behind. In Smash, it functions the same, with it lasting around 30 seconds before vanishing, with the time limit decreasing based on how much damage it's taken. Daybreak, a weapon exclusive to the multiplayer mode, which requires a player or team to collect all 3 parts of the Daybreak, at which point it can shoot one giant insta-kill laser. In Smash, it functions similarly, requiring a fighter to collect all 3 pieces before they can use it. Killer Eye, turrets that can be set up to shoot any enemies in its line of sight. In Smash, the turret will activate once it's been thrown, with it being possible to move it by attacking it, with it being possible to have it lie down, at which point it will either continuously shoot upwards or knock itself back up when landing face down. It's also possible to stick it onto ceilings and walls. Or Club, the most basic club type weapon in the game, where in addition to being able to do melee damage by swinging it, charging the club will also shoot out a tornado as a projectile attack. In Smash, it acts like any other battering item, but is slower whilst doing more damage and knockback, with it also shooting tornadoes when performing a smash attack, with the size and distance travelled being based on how long the attack is charged for, with the smash attacks also giving the user super armor. Staff, these being a group of weapons that have the longest range, with the shot's damage increasing in power the further away the target is, at the cost of doing poor damage up close and requiring good aim due to them not having homing shots. In Smash, it behaves the same way, with it specifically being based on the Insight Staff, which is the most basic of the staff weapons. And X-Bomb, an item which when thrown shoots projectiles in an X shape. Whilst the aesthetic design of the bomb is based on its Kid Icarus appearance, in Smash it instead just creates a large explosion in the shape of an X. This behaviour coming from how the X-Bomb was used in a DS puzzle game called Meteos, which was also directed by Sakurai. In addition, there's the assist trophy Phosphora, one of Veridi's top commanders who possesses electric powers. When summoned, she'll fly and teleport around the stage and shoot at enemies with various electric attacks, taking the form of a large blue sphere which can travel through the stage, groups of 3 yellow spheres, or 3 fast white shots. After that we have a Mii sword fighter costume based on Veridi, with the sword being her staff, and to end off there's 13 spirits. Number 704, Dark Pit, a fighter spirit. In addition to appearing as an ally and enemy, you also get to play as Dark Pit in Chapter 22. Number 709, Daybreak, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect shooting items up. Due to both items being incredibly powerful, with you needing to collect 3 pieces in order to use them, the Daybreak can be viewed as Uprising's version of the Dragoon from Kirby Air Ride. Number 711, Medusa Kid Icarus Uprising, a 2-slot legend primary attack spirit with the effect Giant. This being Medusa's more human-esque redesign for Uprising, which was likely done to make her appear more in line with Pit and Palutina's new designs. Number 715, Amazon Pandora, a 2-slot ace primary grab spirit with the effect easier dodging, a more human form Pandora used to have long before the events of the original Kid Icarus, with her gaining this form after taking 2 trips to the Rewind Spring in Chapter 22. Number 717, Hades, a 2-slot ace primary shield spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. The true leader of the underworld who gets revealed to be the actual main antagonist of the game after Pit defeats Medusa in Chapter 9. with him reviving Medusa as a distraction so he could acquire more human souls. Number 718, Hades' Final Form, a 2-slot legend primary shield spirit with the effect trade-off attacks up, this being a form Hades takes during the final boss fight in Chapter 25. Number 722, Pseudo Palutina, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect transformation duration up, a clone of Palutena that Pit has to fight as part of the 3 trials set by Dintos in Chapter 24. Number 723, Veridi, a 1-slot legend support spirit with the effect Metal Killer. Whilst initially starting off as an antagonistic third party, she ends up becoming an ally after reluctantly having to work with Pit during the Aurum arc, which takes up chapters 15 to 17, and after Palutena becomes unavailable during chapters 18 to 21, she ends up becoming the one to grant Pit flight. Number 724, Phosphora, a 2-slot ace support spirit with the effect Zap Floor Immunity. As mentioned earlier, she's a commander for Veridi's army and acts as the boss for chapter 14. Number 725, Lurchthorn, a 1-slot novice primary shield spirit. Flying worm-like enemies from Veridi's army, the Forces of Nature, which shoot projectiles from the eyes on their body segments. Number 726, Magnus, a 2-slot advanced primary attack spirit with the effect Sword Attack Up, a supporting character who primarily appears during chapters 2 and 18, being one of the strongest humans in the world who works with a group of monster hunting mercenaries, initially helping Pit to reach and defeat the Dark Lord goal. Number 727, Dintos, a master spirit who runs the equipment style dojo, which increases item and assist trophy attacks, healing amounts, as well as transformation and equipment duration, whilst decreasing standard, aerial, and special attacks. The god of Forge, who's revealed to be the creator of the 3 sacred treasures, and most of Pit's other weapons. He appears in chapter 24, where Pit needs to beat trials set by Dintos in order to test if he's worthy of being able to use Dintos' most powerful weapon, the Great Sacred Treasure. And number 728, Mimicuti, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Foot Attack Up. Enemies that disguise themselves as treasure chests and then chase after Pit, attacking him with fast kicks. And that's everything from Kid Icarus, with the series being tied 17th with Star Fox, in turn putting it above Sonic the Hedgehog but below Earthbound. The next episode will be another focusing on smaller series that originated on certain platforms, namely the Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance. In the meantime, a poll has gone up to vote on what the focus for episode 13 should be, the options being based on a mix of the 2 topics that almost beat Kirby and Kid Icarus in the last poll, those being either Fire Emblem or Earthbound and Xenoblade, as well as what seems to be the most popular request for the next third-party video, Bandai Namco and Square Enix. So to keep up with when the next poll or video releases, make sure to subscribe and please let me know in the comments if there's a particular series you want to see covered soon, and thanks for watching.